Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, and this is what I'm going to be listening to in July 2025. It's my album release radar. I'm going to talk about 17 metal, rock, and progressive albums that are coming out in July 2025 and that I'll be listening to. So if you're interested in any of these albums and want to hear my first impressions of them when they come out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, follow the channel because I post my first impressions on new music that I listen to every week. So let's jump in. On July 2nd, we have We Lost the Sea releasing a single flower. This is the fifth album by this Australian post-rock band. It's instrumental post-rock with some metal, like atmospheric sludge metal and post-metal influences. Kind of like if you're a fan of Cult of Luna, maybe check it out, but it's not quite as heavy. It's purely instrumental. Got more influences from bands like Explosions in the Sky and stuff like that on the post-rock side, but it has this kind of sludgy post-metal bite to it that I think fans of Cult of Luna would like. So if that sounds good to you, check out A Single Flower by We Lost the Sea. Then on July 4th, I have Dropkick Murphys. They're releasing their album For the People. And this is more of a punk rock band. This is their 13th album. It's kind of like Celtic punk with folk and even some hardcore punk influences in there. Really interesting band. Uh, I've never really done a deep dive on their discography, but every time I hear a Dropkick Murphys songs, and I've heard a bunch of their songs, whenever it's on, I enjoy it. They're a fun time. So punk rock with Celtic vibes and bagpipes, tin whistles, accordions, etc. Not my usual style, but really fun music to drink to and just to listen to have a good time. So I think I'm going to check this out and I'm curious to hear what it'll sound like. On the same day, Syncopia is releasing Phase 2, which is an EP by this German progressive metalcore band. And I've never heard any of their music before, but I checked out an early release single on Bandcamp and it was called Call of the Sea and had great, catchy, clean female vocals on the chorus, intense, harsh vocals during other sections of the song, great guitar riffs and energy. So I put this on my list to check out. So check out Phase 2 by Syncopia. Now let's jump over to July 11th. I have Born of Osiris on my list with their album Through Shadows, the seventh album by this American band. It's progressive melodic metalcore with djent, with deathcore, electronic, and symphonic influences. And Born of Osiris always has great riffs, heavy breakdowns, catchy hooks. I thought their last album was very good. My complaint with Born of Osiris is a lot of their material is very samey. I haven't heard them push their boundaries too much. So that's what's keeping them from being one of my favorites. They certainly have the talent to be on my favorites list, but they've never quite released something that's blown me away, near masterpieces or masterpiece music. But I think they're very technically capable of doing it. I want to hear them push their boundaries. I'll see if that's what will happen. Even if they don't, I'm sure I'll enjoy the music here. So I'll be checking out Through Shadows by Born of Osiris. Also on July 11th, we have Philosophobiia. I don't know, like a fear of philosophy, releasing The Constant Void. This is the second album by this multinational progressive metal band. I never heard their debut album, but I heard the single from this called King of Fools, and it's great. So I put this on my list to check out. I always like checking out new progressive metal albums. Also on July 11th, Sheev is releasing Eight's Alchemist, their second album. They're a German band, and this is progressive stoner metal with progressive rock and sludge metal influences. Never heard Sheev before, but checked out the track Martif ahead of time, and it's great. So put them on my list too. And last one that I have on my list right now for July 11th is the band Floating and their album Hesitating Lights. The second album by this Swedish band. It's progressive death metal with post-punk influences. Another one where they're new to me, but I heard the track Still Dark Enough ahead of time. Really interesting track and style they have here, so I put this on my list. This one's very brutal death metal vocals on this, so you really have to be ready for this one. Not for the faint of heart from the single that I previewed, but if you want to hear some very brutal progressive death metal stuff, check out Hesitating Lights by Floating. All right, let's move over to July 18th now. I've got Styx on my list. This album, Circling from Above, the physical release of this is already out. So people who bought CDs and vinyls could already have this, but they didn't release it on streaming services yet. And they're going to on July 18th. So I haven't heard it yet. I haven't shelled out for a physical copy. I tend to only buy like my top 5 to 10 albums each year, maybe sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. Budget reasons, not wanting to spend too much on vinyl, and I use streaming a lot, so I'll be waiting for this streaming release, but I'm excited. I love Styx. They're a great band. This is their 18th album. They're an American band, and this is progressive rock with hard rock influences. Really, they've got a lot of great albums from their classic heyday in the 70s, but also their recent output has been really strong. So they're one of the legacy bands that's still going really strong today and still making interesting stuff. I've actually seen them live multiple times. They put on a great live show. So I'm really looking forward to hearing this one. I think it'll be great. And hopefully it captures the magic of their past greatness, like some of their best albums. I'm really hoping that they can capture that. Next up on July 18th is Darren Malakian and Scars on Broadway with their album Addicted to the Violence. This is the third album by this American band. I guess it's hardly a band. It's really Darren Malakian and whoever he chooses to collaborate with. It's alternative metal, and of course, Darren Malakian is the guitar player from System of a Down. He is doing the guitar work and the vocals here. He also plays drums, bass, keyboards in the studio on this, but guitar and vocals are his main live instruments, and he's supported by touring members when he plays this stuff live. Um, since System of a Down never really puts out any new music, this and Serge Tankian's solo material is really the closest we can ever get to new System of a Down albums. Prove me wrong, System. I'd love to hear some new stuff from System of a Down. Uh, at this point, it's been so long, I don't even know or b believe like if System of a Down put something out, could it even capture the magic they had before? Like it's been so long. I know they've been touring. I intend to see them live this year. Um, yeah, I think it's September. So looking forward to that because System of a Down is a great band that I love. I've liked the Scars on Broadway material, but it hasn't. I feel like anytime Darren's working without Serge, he's missing some of the magic, and anytime Serge is working without Darren, he's missing some of the magic that made me love System of a Down. And System of a Down was actually the first metal band that I really got obsessed with and got into. So they really kind of got me into metal in the first place. And I still love every System of a Down album to this day. And I check out Darren Malakian and Serge Tankian albums just because I love System of a Down so much. I'd prefer Serge's solo stuff over Darren, but I still check them both out. I enjoy them both. But really, System of a Down is when they're working together, that is the sweet spot, and that's what I'd love to hear them do. Hopefully, they can get over their differences and make some music together again. Also on July 18th, Darko is releasing Canvas, an EP. Now this is technical melodic hardcore punk with metalcore influences from the UK. And I thought their 2024 EP called Grayscale was a very good EP, and I'm really looking forward to this. Check this band out. If you like technical music that's inspired by punk rock, if you like the technical punk stuff like Propaganda, Protest the Hero, where they kind of are like prog metal, technical, but influenced by punk. Choke, another great technical punk band, and a Wilhelm Scream, another great technical punk band. It sounds like those bands and fits in kind of that style. So really great stuff. I'm looking forward to this EP Canvas from Darko. Next up on July 18th, I have Abigail Williams on my list. This is their album A Void Within Existence, the sixth album by this American band, and this is atmospheric melodic black metal with black gaze and symphonic influences. And I heard the single Non-Existence. I really enjoyed it, so I added this to my list to check out. This is a band where I've heard some of their past work, but I haven't done a deep dive on their discography yet. But lots of blast beats, intense black metal shrieks, also great guitar riffs, soft moments with great atmosphere, even an emotional guitar solo to end the track Non-Existence, which was pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to hearing this A Void Within Existence by Abigail Williams. And my last one on my list for July 18th at this point in time, I'm sure I'll discover more albums to listen to throughout July as it goes on. Usually I listen to a good like 30 or so per month, and I've only got 17 on my list so far, so I'm sure I'll discover more. But this is Slaughter to Prevail with their album Grizzly, the third album by this Russian deathcore band with new metal influences. They are Russian, but they're based in the US now. I heard the single Russian Grizzly in America, which is crushingly heavy. Not sure how much I like it, but it was hard not to headbang, especially to that breakdown. The snare sound on the song actually almost reminds me of Metallica's Saint Anger, though, and in that it sounds a bit like a trash can. I know that bothers some people, the sound of Saint Anger, but it never bothered me too much, honestly. A lot of people complain about the snare sound on Metallica's Saint Anger, but I'm not too bothered by that. Actually, this is a bit of a tangent, but I actually kind of prefer listening to Saint Anger rather than Load and Reload. I find those two to be more boring and Saint Anger to be more interesting, although those are kind of three of Metallica's weakest albums. Um, but yeah, that's a bit of a tangent. But yeah, I thought the snare on this song by Slaughter to Prevail kind of sounded like Saint Anger. But yeah, they're a fairly popular deathcore band, and I'm curious to hear what they're doing on this one. So I'm going to be checking out Grizzly by Slaughter to Prevail. Now let's look at my July 25th list. I have Tim Minchin, and he's releasing Time Machine, the second album by this Australian artist. And this is piano-driven comedy rock with singer-songwriter influences. Tim Minchin is an Australian comedian, actor, writer, musician, poet, composer, and songwriter. I really enjoy his musical comedy, so I plan to check this out. Not something I expect to listen to over and over again, but definitely worth checking out. I like that he does musical comedy, but that he's actually really musically talented as well on piano and vocals. So the parts he writes are actually, they aren't just throwaway. A lot of musical comedy, the music itself is kind of just four chord songs and it's just about funny lyrics, but he's actually really good musically. But if you're a fan of musical comedy acts like Bo Burnham, Flight of the Conchords, Weird Al Yankovic, then maybe you'll like this. Although I'm not even really sure if this album's going to be comedy like what he usually does. I haven't looked into it much. I just kind of saw that it's coming out. Maybe he's actually going to make more serious songs. I'll check it out either way, whether it's comedy or serious. I think he's a talented musician, composer, piano player, singer. Uh, Not sure what I'm hoping for. Probably I'm hoping it's comedy, but I'd be okay if it's not, as long as it's good. So that's Time Machine by Tim Minchin. Check it out. And then Cryptodira is also releasing Genesis of Error on the same day, July 25th. Their third album. They're a American progressive technical death metal band with mathcore influences. Never heard any album by them before, but I heard the single No Monuments and it's just amazing. So had to put them on my list. Grayceon is releasing Then the Darkness, the sixth album by this American progressive post-metal band with sludge metal influences. Again, never heard anything by them before, but heard the single Thousand Year Storm, enjoyed it, so it's on my list. Female vocals here with clean and harsh vocals. They have cello mixed in with their prog metal. Check it out if you're a fan of The Ocean. Then I've got two more on my list here for this video. Haxprocess is releasing Beyond What Eyes Can See, the second album by this American progressive death metal band. Another one, again, I've never heard any album by them before, but I heard the single Where Even Stars Die. I enjoy that so much. Put it on my list. If you're a fan of Blood Incantation, but want to hear what would happen if they stayed heavy the whole time rather than going into the spacey electronic stuff, this kind of reminded me of the brutal, heavy death metal side of Blood Incantation. So check it out if you like that. And last on my list is Boneflower with their album Reveries, the third album by this Spanish band. This is post-hardcore with screamo and post-rock influences. Again, never heard any album by them before, but I heard the single Pomegranate ahead of time, and that made me put it on my list. So that's it for 17 albums that I plan to listen to in July 2025. I'm sure there will be more. Definitely, if you know of more, let me know down in the comments. Anything great coming out in July. You can kind of see a sneak peek here on my screen of my some of the things that are going to be in my August list. I haven't finalized my August listing list yet. Really, these are never finalized because I always discover stuff as it comes out. I hear other music YouTubers talk about things that I miss in my video, or I just kind of stumble upon, find out about something mid-month myself, and decide to listen to it. But yeah, these are what I plan to listen to. Which one are you most excited for? Also, let me know. And hopefully, I put something on your radar that you didn't realize was coming out. I also love to know about that if I inspired you to, watch out for one of these and listen to one of these. Let me know what you think of it. And stay tuned. Every week I'll be posting my first impressions of these albums as I listen to them so you can hear my takes on them. And if you like metal, rock, and prog, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as I talk about it all the time on my channel. And stay tuned for next time. Peace out.